Hey, good morning. All about fishing with Big Kev. Good morning. Good morning. Hey, we're down here in the old fishing room, getting ready to working on some rods. We again, like I said, we got the line all on. We got rods checked out and cleaned out. We got the reels lubed up and cleaned up. So now this morning I'm going to get them rigged up. Uh, Trying to just get everything ready to rock and roll again. These are my trolling drifting rods that I'm doing today, and we're going to rig them up for drift fishing right now, since we do a lot of that. And just to give you an idea what they are, they're baitcast reels and medium heavy rods with 20-pound mono. That's how I got them set up. Seems to work really well for us when we're out on the water. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to rig these up with floating head 3/0 hooks. We'll run a small leader, or we'll put a bead on with a slide weight. And with the wind in Kansas, we're usually, we're wanting to be on the very bottom, so we usually use about a one ounce lead. And we're using heavy duty swivels. Ones I use are made by Whisker Seeker. So I've showed you guys several times how we do this, but it's just a Whisker Seeker heavy duty swivel. We'll use a weight slide, a weight. I've been using these floating head 3/0 hooks, styrofoam head. Get them from Walleye Supply. Multiple colors, as you can see. And then same with the beads. They're coming multiple colors. But what I like to do, and what I suggest people to do if you don't know, is when you're setting up multiple rods to do one thing. So like I'm going to set up, what I got here, 1, 2, 3, 6 rods for drifting. And I'm using this 3/0 foam head hook. So I'll change up the colors on every one of them, just because until you figure out really what works. You don't know what works, so try different things. Same if you're jigging with jigs. If you got 2 or 3 people jigging, don't put the same color jig on every rod, because there's that chance that jig will never work as far as the color goes, depending on the water clarity and everything else. And you'll never know unless you play around, figure it out. So change up your colors, and then once you find a color that seems to be working really solid for you, then you can start switching things up to where using the same colors, or maybe not the same lure in the same color, but a different lure, same color, or something of that nature, until that stops working for you, and then go to some other option. So always have multiple different colors, different sizes, different things on your rods. If you're drift fishing or casting or whatever. I mean, it applies to everything. Until you figure out what's working, and then switch it up. Because if you go all day fishing the same stuff and nothing ever works, you're not going to put any fish on your kitchen table. So that's one thing that's good to do. So as you can see, I got the bead. I'll put it against my shirt here. Got the bead with the swivel. And what that bead does on that sliding weight, it protects that knot on that swivel from hammering on it all day long and busting that knot up. But again, I use these weight slides from Whisker Seeker. They seem to be working really well. And, you know, you fish with different people. Different people use different products than you do. A good buddy of mine taught me this, showed me his gear and what he does. So you can see how that weight slide lands on that bead. So it protects that swivel. But he showed me his setup. Next thing I know, I'm getting into some of that gear, and it works really well. So if you're one of these guys that thinks you know all the tricks, you might want to look at someone else's techniques, because sometimes some of that stuff works really well. And so since we talked last, I think I told you guys that we got the boat serviced at Wakanda Boats. That's all done. So that's one item all off my checklist. Conklin Automotive Group serviced the Silverado, so it's ready to roll. Chevy dealer here in Salina. Got it all lubed up and ready to roll. And I got confirmation yesterday from Showing Signs and Graphics in Downs, Kansas, that my graphics are actually got a picture of them printing, which was really cool. So they're printed, or getting printed, or should be done by now. So I should be receiving those here first of the week. So anyway, we went with the blue one on this one. So that's ready to roll, which is pretty cool. So I got a lot of these to do, and then once them are done, I'll do my bait casters, my low profile bait casters with spinners, different type, lures, etc. Because if you're bumping like I'm in a boat, so I'm fishing the shoreline. So I got a rod set up with a spinner. I've got a rod set up with, let's say, a lipless crankbait. I got a rod set up with a crankbait, or plastics, or something else. Everything's different. Work them shorelines. See where you're at. A lot of it depends on your temperature of your water, or what species you're fishing for. It depends on, are you fishing rocks or weeds? Clarity of the water. Are you fishing with the wind blowing into the bank? Are you, so many facets. But the thing is change up your baits. If you got the option of using multiple reels and rods, then put a different one on each one, whether it's 2, 3, 5, whatever, and then you're not sitting there spending your time changing lures until you find that setup that works. And once you find that setup that works, then you'll know what to go with. And then you can start, okay, the water's cold, the fish are slow, we're throwing lipless crankbaits, just kind of bumping them along. Maybe you got a hit on a silver one, you're going to try a chartreuse or, now you know the lipless crankbait's working. Spinners are not getting deep enough, whatever it is. We fished out at Milford throwing spinners. It's nice summer, hot day, winds blowing into the bank, fishing white bass. Okay. Even on a shad boil we get into. One guy could be throwing a lure of one color and another guy could be throwing a lure of another color. Same lure, different color. One guy's catching a fish every cast, one guy's not catching them. Then that guy switches up the lure and we start throwing, the same lure, and all of a sudden everybody's bringing fish in the boat. It's really weird. Not saying you're not going to catch fish on a different color, because there's always that goofy one out there that's hungry for anything and he'll bite. But it seems like they all kind of adapt to the same color combination, not necessarily the same lure, but a lot of that has to do with your water clarity, how deep the fish are suspended. Is it a sunny day, a cloudy day? What are they feeding on? They're feeding on, shad. What's the deal? So you just got to experiment and play around. I mean, that's kind of the fun in fishing, I guess. Yeah, it's fun to reel them in and all that, but there actually is somewhat of a science to this sport. And people throughout the years, I remember as a kid, 4, 5, 6 years old, I had the privilege to always be in a boat, whether my dad owned it or an uncle or somebody or a friend of my dad. Always had a boat that we went out to the lake. I grew up in Wichita and fished probably 99% of my life at Cheney Lake as a youngster. And got to know that lake as I grew older, listening to my dad and his work buddies and whoever was fishing with him at the time. Us kids would go out sometimes with him, or it would just be dad and I, my brother and mom, or whoever, but it was always a group of us in a boat. So if you sit back and just watch and admire and listen to some of these guys and gals that have been doing it for quite a while, you can absorb a lot of knowledge. So I absorbed quite a bit of information about Cheney Lake and knew where to go. Mr. D's Cove, Wichita Point, certain spots on the dam face. I mean, we knew where to go when we're trolling and casting and fishing, at Cheney. And I'd say majority of what we caught at Cheney were channel cat, white bass. Now you got to remember, I'm talking 50 plus years ago. The white perch invasion of Cheney, or whatever you want to call it, wasn't around at that time, so we didn't fish for those. By the way, I've talked to some people down that way, and they say they're a really good eating fish, so I'm kind of interested in that. But anyway, what I'm getting at is you learn by listening and watching, and don't feel like you're copying them, but just pick up those tricks. I'd say a majority of the anglers out there, there's those smarty pants people that, aren't they think they're giving you or hiding the biggest secret in the world and don't offer you any information, because half that lake they own and they're not going to tell you about it. And I don't understand that. There's so many fish in these lakes that why they think they own everything in there, and it's such a secret. But a lot of people are going to talk to you about, what's working for them today, where they're catching them today. If you know the lake worth the beans, watch the videos. You'll be able to see where they're at shoreline wise, and so forth. So we go out, we talk, we say we're working the shorelines, we're working the rocks, the rock faces, the points. No reason to hide in the sport. Let's let everybody know how to do this so everybody can enjoy it. So anyway, that's kind of what's going on. Exciting to get the graphics in. It's going to be exciting to get back out. It's like 15 degrees out or something. It's crazy cold. So I hear the wife upstairs walking around, so she's out of bed. So she'll be headed down this way. I imagine we'll be looking at Beckford. Look at that. I just noticed something, folks. I put that reel on backwards. There. Got busy talking in a video or something and put it on backwards. That might work better. But anyway, we're going to sit down here and we're going to rig up these rods and get everything ready to roll and hopefully get back out on the water soon. I know people are still fishing and catching crappie and so forth, but you got to pick a time in your fishing lifestyle to stop for a few weeks and get maintenance done on things. If you're a boat owner or your vehicles, especially your equipment, your fishing poles, your rods, your reels, get your lures all reorganized. You spend a week or two getting your things organized, take care of your equipment, and your fishing trips are going to be a lot more pleasant and less aggravating because you took the time to take care of your equipment and so forth. And you'll appreciate the time you spent doing that so that you're not having issues. I talked to my brother-in-law yesterday. He got snow on the ground up at the farm, cold, and so he's took the time and he's gone through some of his equipment, and he's got his boat taken care of and put away for the year, or for now. He lives up almost on the Nebraska border, so he's in a little colder environment than I am. And so yeah, he's taking advantage of the downtime, and we spend a little time on the phone talking about what we want to do for the year and what we think will work and won't work and what he's heard through the grapevine. He's got a person he talks to quite a bit that fishes Milford Lake. So he's given him some insight there. So it's all about sharing your knowledge. Sharing your knowledge about what you know and what you learn. I will tell you that I am working heavily right now with Kansas Parks and Wildlife on a program. And as soon as we get some more information that we can share with that, we are going to go with that and let everybody know, because it's going to be really cool. And so very excited to be working with them doing that. Another good buddy of mine here in town, or not here in town, but here in Kansas, is jump on board with us doing it. And one of our lady friends, it's an avid angler and educator, has jumped on board to help us as well. So if you think this is an all-male sport, think again, because there's some very talented women in this field. And, my wife grew up on the farm, so she's lived around this stuff for years. Just not necessarily on a boat, but she's had the luxury of being able to walk out the front door of a house and trip over a tree stump that's laying next to a pond and being able to fish. So that's really a neat deal. We always go up there and fish the farm ponds. It seems to be a whole different world fishing those as far as fun, and love doing it. So there's always a way to get out and get things going fishing wise, whether it's a farm pond, a city pond, or if you got a way to get to the lake, go to the lake. But get out there, and if you want to learn the sport, there's people out there that are willing to teach you. And if anybody has questions, feel free to ask me in a private message, or you could email me. I'll give you my email. It's really simple. Anytime you got a fishing question you want to ask, it's kansasangler@gmail.com. Really a simple email to remember, kansasangler@gmail.com. And if you're having a problem, you're trying to figure out a rod or a reel, or, be glad to help any way we can. Get you guys situated to where we can get you outside fishing. I'm not going to hide the sport from you. I'd really rather share what knowledge I have, and I by far don't have all of it. Let me guarantee you that. I got like I said, I got a brother-in-law that's a very avid fisherman, and that good friend of mine that, my God, I had a bad day putting these on. I got this one on backwards. Problem I got is I got too many right hand and too many left hand reels, and I'm sitting there trying to figure out which one's which and not paying attention. But anyway, these guys are older than I am, actually. One of them, they're both in their 70s. And when I talk to them about fishing or what's going on in the state of Kansas or so forth, I got both ears listening, and I'm absorbing as much of it as I can, because some of these guys have lived, eat, and breathed it for years. My brother-in-law that I fish with all the time, it's kind of a running joke with actually a brother-in-law of mine that just passed away. We always fished together. The three of us were pretty avid fishermen in the family. And there was always comments about how my fishing buddy, my brother-in-law, lives up by Nebraska, how he could take a hubcap off a Volkswagen, put a treble hook on it, and catch a fish. He's that good. So it's kind of a running comedy thing that everybody says, because he's just got that knack, that as soon as he throws something in the water, it seems to like it and bite it. And where some of us struggle, he really goes nuts with it. So anyway, again, email me, kansasangler@gmail.com. If you got any questions, got any ideas, want to know what's going on in Kansas, need some help with anything, I'm all ears. And hopefully we'll see you out on the water. Say hi. Several people have done that. Love to talk to you. And I'm just busy talking and not paying attention. And so yeah, keep in touch. and we'll finish these rods up. Everybody have a safe week. Stay warm. If you're in Kansas, you know how cold it is. Stay warm. Hey, real quick, boat show in Wichita, Kansas is coming up February, I believe it's 13th or 14th, somewhere in there. Century 2 in Wichita, Kansas. I got it in with some people that are putting that together, and that show is going to be a full show of vendors and going to be huge. And it's been a while since Wichita's had a really good sport boat and travel show. So check out that. That's going to be really good. I plan on being there. I'm not a vendor or setting up a booth or anything. I got a good friend of mine, Crappie Stomper Jigs, Kim Burnett. I believe he's setting up a booth, so stop by and see him. He was just in the Kansas City boat show, so had great success there. But Kim's one of them guys that if you got questions about tying jigs, tying flies, pan fishing, he's your guy. He's a pro staffer for Bass Pro and a few other companies. He's a very knowledgeable gentleman on many facets of angling. So if you get a chance, stop by and see him at his booth and pick his brain and tell him Big Kev sent you by to say hi and watch him tie a few lures. It's pretty interesting. Very talented man. Hey, tight lines, everyone. Hope to see you around at the lake, boat shows, wherever. All about fishing with Big Kev. Like and subscribe. Take the time, get your gear set up, get it checked out, get it all lubed up, get it cleaned up, get it ready to roll. Make your fishing trouble-free when you go out. Tight lines. Everybody take care.